Low FODMAP diet mistakes. Why FODMAP-free still triggers IBS. If you're struggling to follow a low FODMAP diet and still getting sick, beware. Today, I'm going to teach you why FODMAP-free does not mean safe for IBS. In fact, about 30% of people with IBS have no FODMAP intolerances at all, so this is a useless diet for them. I'm going to tell you why it might also be useless for you. Hi, I'm Heather Van Vorous, IBS advocate and author of the best-selling books Eating for IBS and The First Year IBS. I've been helping people with IBS for 30 years, and I'm here to help you too. And if you enjoy this content, please subscribe to my channel by touching the subscribe button below. So what is a FODMAP? It's just an acronym. It stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. FODMAPs include fructans, galactans, polyols, fructose, and lactose. In plain English, a FODMAP is just a type of short-chain carbohydrate that, for some people, is poorly digested. FODMAPs are naturally found in certain fruits, vegetables, milk, and wheat. In addition, some common manufacturing byproducts are actually pure FODMAPs. Inulin, FOS, GOS, MOS, XOS, oligosaccharides, artichoke extract, and chicory extract are all examples of FODMAPs that are commonly added to foods, drinks, and supplements. These will actually likely cause gas and bloating for just about anyone, even people who don't even have IBS. So do always read ingredients and avoid those. And just as a really important aside here, please note that gluten is not a FODMAP. Gluten is a protein. FODMAPs are carbohydrates. Fats, proteins, and carbohydrates are all separate macronutrients. That means that one cannot be another. And another, by the way, carbohydrates are not evil. The foundation of a healthy diet is going to be complex carbohydrates. Going low carb is going to be terrible for your gut and for IBS. A gluten-free diet is required for celiac disease, but not for irritable bowel syndrome. IBS does not carry gluten intolerance, and gluten-free foods are not automatically safe for IBS. They can have plenty of other triggers in there. So what's really important to know here, a low FODMAP diet is not a blanket exclusion diet. You are not supposed to just remove all high FODMAP foods from your diet forever and ever. That is going to lead to malnutrition. You are only supposed to do the low FODMAP diet working with a registered dietitian who knows both IBS and FODMAPs specifically. It takes about 12 weeks of exclusions and reintroductions to run down your personal FODMAP intolerances, if any, and then to find your specific degree of tolerance levels. And remember, about 30% of people with IBS have no FODMAP intolerances at all, so it's a useless diet for them. And there are tons of low FODMAP foods that are still huge gut stimulants or irritants. If you have IBS, across the board, you're going to have to watch out for fats. You have to learn the difference between soluble and insoluble fibers. And you'll probably have to limit or avoid caffeine, carbonation, alcohol, and artificial sweeteners. I actually like to think of FODMAPs as the cherry on the IBS diet sundae. You need to get your IBS diet foundation built first. Establish your baselines with the universal IBS trigger foods, such as GI stimulants and irritants, your soluble fiber safe foods, and your insoluble fiber caution foods. These will all physically affect your IBS gut in very predictable ways. Making these foundational diet changes may be all that you need. But if you do get your foundation established and you still have trouble, especially with bloating and gas, then try adding in the FODMAPs exclusions with the registered dietitian. Now, I know that the low FODMAP diet and IBS dietary advice in general can seem overwhelming and contradictory, but hang in there. There are actually a lot of clear, easy steps to take that should get you feeling better quickly. First of all, before you can even accept a diagnosis of IBS, let alone start a low FODMAP diet, you need to be tested for gluten intolerance, which is celiac disease, plus fructose intolerance and lactose intolerance. All of these can mimic IBS, but they're very different problems and they require different dietary strategies. If you have these food intolerances ruled out and you do have IBS, then the FODMAP approach isn't always the easiest, fastest, or best way to start. And again, about 1/3 of people with IBS don't have any FODMAP issues at all. I actually happen to be one of them. The low FODMAP diet can also mistakenly lump together gluten, fructose, and lactose intolerances with IBS, and they're not remotely the same thing. Remember, gluten isn't even a FODMAP, it's a protein. It has nothing to do with the low FODMAP diet. FODMAPs are carbohydrates. Fats, carbs, and proteins are all discrete and unrelated elements. The original author of the low FODMAP diet, the fabulous Dr. Sue Shepherd at Monash University in Australia, actually touched on these crucial issues in her original scientific research papers. But somehow those critical details are often dropped as her research is disseminated down the line to America, from medical papers to more patient-oriented publications. So if you do follow a low FODMAP diet, make sure you're accounting for this oversight so you can get the best results possible. First things first here, make sure that you've had the test for those food intolerances so you know what you're truly dealing with. Then, focus on your soluble fiber safe foods. Eliminate the universal IBS trigger foods and be cautious with insoluble fiber foods. There is an IBS diet cheat sheet you can get all about this for quick and easy reference and just post on your fridge. If you check the links in the pinned comments for this video, you can get your cheat sheet. And remember too that with IBS, it's also a matter of how you eat, not just what you eat. So get your foundation diet of eating for IBS established and see how you do with that. You might not need to take things any further. If you do, it's crucial that the low FODMAPs diet is trialed only under the direct supervision of a registered dietitian, and this is because it is not a blanket exclusion diet. That FODMAP dietitian should help you figure out which specific, if any, FODMAP groups bother you, and then they need to find the highest amount you can tolerate. The whole point of this is to make a low FODMAP diet as unrestrictive as possible, and this can only be done on an individual basis. What you do not want is to eliminate forever all high FODMAP foods across the board. You may well have a problem with none of them, or just some of them, and to varying degrees. It's a very individualized diet, and it can also be complicated, which is why it's supposed to be done with a registered dietitian. It is a serious problem to just wipe out all high FODMAP foods, probably unnecessarily, as you will end up with a very nutrient-poor diet as a result. In addition, there's now some really worrisome research showing that a low FODMAP diet negatively impacts the gut biome, the healthy bacteria of your gut. As a result, the low FODMAP diet is not suggested on a permanent basis, and research into the consequences of a low FODMAP diet is continuing. Interestingly, a 2018 study found that prebiotic supplementation could replace the low FODMAP diet as a treatment for IBS. The study compared the results of a prebiotic soluble fiber supplement plus a Mediterranean-style diet versus a placebo supplement plus the low FODMAP diet. The fecal microbiota composition, intestinal gas production, and digestive sensations were all measured outcomes. While both groups showed improved GI symptoms, only the prebiotic group showed significant improvements in microbial composition. What does that mean? It means that the prebiotic group had an increase in their healthy gut bacteria. And if you increase those good guys, they help keep the bad guys in check. Alarmingly, the low FODMAP diet actually showed an increase in pathogenic associated bacteria. Those are the bad guys. In addition, following the dietary intervention, improvements persisted only in the prebiotic group, not the FODMAP group. If you want to learn more about prebiotics for IBS, see the link in the pinned comments and description below. And if you do work with a registered dietitian on a low FODMAP diet, make sure they also address the universal high-fat IBS trigger foods and GI irritants and the critical importance of soluble fiber safe foods. The tip takeaway here: excluding high FODMAP foods without adjusting your diet for other IBS trigger foods is, pardon my French, half-assing it and much less likely to give you good results. To learn all about the universal trigger foods in an IBS diet, watch my next video right here. And you can go to the pinned comments and description below to find your diet cheat sheet link, plus more from helpforibs.com. And as always, please know you are not alone.